Yes, Mauga is back to terrorize the meta, but why?
Catches Squid, now comes in for the stomp and the boosts are working, guys! Everything is connecting for Kellen.
Mauga is the worst performing tank no matter where you look. Jump to Grandmaster and things don't look much better either. So why are the top players across all three regions playing him? Is everyone just a villain, or is there an actual method to the madness? First, let's set the stage. If you're low-key reaching Unk status and have already forgotten, Mauga used to be hard meta just 3 months ago during the Overwatch World Finals. Then, a Scottish man came in alongside a bunch of other heroes, but as of last week, most teams settled into playing Ramatra on flat maps, then playing some kind of dive on more vertical maps. But why are pros locking Mauga in both cases? First, Mauga likes the Ramatra matchup. Ram's only strength is that his block can mitigate a lot of Mauga's healing from Cardiac Overdrive, but he can't stop Mauga's stomp, he's got a much worse ultimate, and he can get punished out of Nemesis. This explains why you'll see someone like Infected swap back onto the Mauga when he sees the enemy tank playing Ramatra. I'll explain why Mauga's being played on dive maps too, but first, how the hell does this comp actually function? Why are Brigs seemingly feeding out of nowhere, and is there a new rock paper scissors meta coming up? Cause let's be real, you watching this probably think you just hold M1 and M2 on Mauga and do Goomba Stomp a Squishy like it's Mario, and then boom, you've suddenly won the fight. Well, I think this series between Timeless and Space Station shows that there's more to it. Timeless are led by the Chad Coach Capitology, whereas Space Station are led by the Mullet Man Unter. First fight, we see Timeless go on Pharah, whereas Space Station roll out on Echo. Generally speaking, the Echo provides better ult value because of the duplicate Mauga, which can be used defensively to hold space under pressure. Comparatively, the Pharah offers more sustained pressure in the neutral, and that concussion perk is great for combos, but more on that later. Starting off, we see the Pharah slam Kellen with directs, forcing him to retreat, while Sugarfree patiently sets up his flank. Timeless get a massive advantage to push forward, but this is where they throw it away. Riker instead turns to try and force out Sugarfree, which buys crucial time for Kellen to get his resources back. This is really confusing because the Brig becomes super punishable after Kellen leaves. All that needs to happen here is Riker stomps onto the Brig and he can even cancel it too, meanwhile the rest of Timeless swing wide for a different angle. Even if the Brig somehow stays alive, unlike Overwatch PvE, then that's still fine. You just turn and burn the Sojourn and Echo instead. The reason why punishing these missed opportunities is so confusing is because even when Timeless don't have an opportunity, they still go in anyways. In this instance, Riker spots the Brig playing super close and commits Stomp, which is reasonable. However, he doesn't cancel it, meaning that he's gotta hit the Stomp for his play to work. Unfortunately, he misses, gets counter-stomped by Kellen, and is forced to go back to the drawing board, just like that one Super TF thumbnail. This isn't the only time Timeless throw away a big advantage though. At the start of the second round, Kellen takes a beating by the whole of Timeless, getting down to 30 HP. Obviously, this makes him use that Cardiac Overdrive, so all Timeless need to do is swing around with their own Cardiac Overdrive and finish off Kellen. Or they can back up, wait a moment, then run in with their cooldown advantage. Thankfully, Bliss hits a great whip shot onto Riker, neutralizing that first option. Despite this, Riker still pops his overdrive even when he can barely see Kellen and when he's relatively far away. This gives Kellen time to stomp away to get his resources back, but look at where Bliss is playing. This would have been a great opportunity for Riker to push his advantage and punish Bliss, especially if he saved his Cardiac Overdrive and especially while Kellen is stomping out, so we don't get a repeat of what happened earlier. Now is where things get a bit advanced, but I promise you, your IQ will skyrocket in the next 30 seconds. After the Echo gets forced out by a nice whip shot by Luke Mino, ignoring Riker's slightly dodgy aim, I would have loved to see him move more to the left side while the rest of Timeless hang back a bit. There's two reasons for this. The first is that there's more cover for the Mauga to use. You get the edge of the high ground as well as the little Taco Bell looking thing. But more importantly, if Space Station want to clear you out, or maybe they want to engage onto the Brig, you can very easily punish them from two different angles. In other words, you want your frontline, or in this case your Mauga, to play a position that if they get ignored or cleared out from, you can still punish the enemy team. Capitology himself talked about this idea before, so if we continue to see Mauga meta next week, this might come up. Now Brig players, pay attention, because you can be the make or break for your team. Brig's biggest challenge is knowing when to play distance or when to walk up. Too passive and you'll barely be getting any ult charge, but too aggressive and you'll likely get stomped and blown up. The first sign of when to walk up on Brig is to pay attention to how much aggression your Mauga is taking, and while not perfect, I think Bliss was able to do this quite well. First, notice how much distance Bliss is playing away from the corner and away from the Mauga. Comparatively, Luke Mino is right up there in front of his Mauga. This means that, generally, it's a lot harder for Riker to hit slams onto Bliss because Bliss is more easily able to run away. However, the second Kellen starts running in, look at what Bliss does. He bashes in, whips Riker away, and gets 4 juicy swings in before leaving to not overstay his welcome. This means that, despite Luke Mino having the early ult advantage lead, Bliss is more than able to catch up and overtake him. Speaking of Luke Mino, look at the difference in playstyle. He starts off playing directly on top of his Mauga and even walks ahead of him. Now this isn't that bad because Riker is taking a lot of aggro here, but I would have much preferred him to swing wide with his DPS, at least initially, and you'll see why. Because Luke has permanently been on his front line, it allows Kellen to find a stomp onto him, which causes Luke to die first. This isn't a one-off thing either. On Suravasa, when Seeker pops the overclock, most of Timeless run away. So far, so good. However, Luke decides to send a pack to his full HP Genji, meaning that he can't help his Sojourn. More importantly though, because he stays on the front line for too long, he ends up bashing into a corner and dying. And we're not done there. Back on Nepal, Luke gets hit by a sticky disruptor shot, which not only zones him, but also is Juno out of the fight, meaning Riker gets chunked down super heavily. However, do note the slick concussion plus sticky disruptor shot combo that Timeless do. It's a really nice touch of synergizing 2 perks together that we haven't really seen before, but the takeaway for Brig here is that the longer you stay on the front line, the more likely you are to take unlucky or random bits of damage like disruptor shots or a Mauga stomp. The last bit of Brig micro is that you can also rally early when the Mauga's got cage, and then if he cages, you can bash into him to cancel the cage. I didn't see any examples of this, but it's definitely worth mentioning. Now, this is good and all, but Mauga meta has gotten so bad that we're seeing Mauga mirrors on fucking Dorado.
It's Dorado, the high ground is higher. But everyone's playing the same ground tanks anyway, so we're just gonna fight on the floor it seems.
So why? Well, there's 3 reasons. The first is hero bans. For instance, banning Bull and Ana makes playing Dive a real pain, forcing teams into Mauga instead. Conversely, we can see that when bans are targeted towards taking Mauga out, like banning Juno, a lot more comp variety comes to play. The second reason is to do with player strengths. Few Western tank players can actually play Bull or Winston to a high level, let alone Diva or Hazards. But even if they can, that raises the last point of hero viability. Diva struggles when there's a Brig on the field, and Hazard struggles when the Mauga team are playing to burn him through his block. Now we haven't really spoken about Genji that much, but his main strengths are his ability to take more aggressive angles safely, punish other people taking aggressive angles, and to deflect the enemy Mauga during cardiac overdrive. In this fight, we see a side duel going on, where Jaywu just hits more shurikens than Top Dragon, which forces his deflect. For some reason, during that duel, Mag tries to stomp onto Shockwave, who just slides out, and Pistola makes an attempt to hit that counter stomp. Now that both stomps are out, you can see both Brigs walk up to brawl safely. While Jaywu doesn't use his deflect advantage, he does try and punish the Sojourn, who's taking a really aggressive angle, before taking a really annoying angle himself to force out Mag. Some teams have also started cooking counter strats. Genji tried Juno Ana, which makes sense. Easy nades, no Kiriko cleanse, and no real threat onto the Ana. But then, you're seeing Team Peps pull out Juno Kiriko to flip the matchup. You've now got that cleanse and the mobility to actually flank wide, access high grounds, and support your DPS. So is there a true rock paper scissors thing going on here, where the Juno Ana beats the standard Juno Brig, then Juno Brig beats Juno Kiriko, and Juno Kiriko beats Juno Ana. Well, not quite. Commander X explained how you can still outplay the Juno Ana as Juno Brig by stomping out when you get naded, then going back in once Ana's got no nade. The ultimate game for Juno Brig is also just superior, and the value that you get in the long fights is also just superior thanks to Inspire. Now, when this video releases, there's probably gonna be a patch that's gonna switch up the Mauga meta, but I at least think his comeback warrants some interesting thoughts. Speaking of interesting thoughts, if you want to hear my unhinged takes live, go follow me on Twitch because I'll be co-streaming this week's games. Grab my Spalo approved coaching too if you actually want to climb, and until next time.